he was the person that was like, it's okay to be vulnerable. Malcolm taught me vulnerability. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to feel like, this is to grieve a divorce. But what's your mentality? Are you going to carry what you lost? Or are you going to use that as inspiration to press forward and pioneer something new?
Yeah. And also, are you going to share it with others? Because otherwise you live in a vacuum and think, I'm the only one.
Right.
We were talking about this the other day. Just I'm the only one who's going through this. But then when you open up, you realize really everybody's gone through something in their relationship.
Yeah.
And that's where the wisdom comes in when you open up that door.
Comrades, welcome to Not All Hood. Makeup artists, they know everything and everybody. So a couple of years ago when Malcolm said, look, you have to meet my makeup artist, Dani Peebles from The Resident, I already knew. I knew she was gonna come with some stories, some wisdom, some real talk that we all need to hear. We went behind the curtain on The Resident and she opened up about how Malcolm was there for her during one of her toughest times in her life, her divorce. Real friendship, real support. And then she blessed us with some raw, unfiltered advice about dating in 2025. No sugarcoating, just the straight facts.
All right, let's roll. You know why I love having you on?
Tell me.
I love having you because Malcolm introduced us and he said, you gotta meet Dani. You're gonna love Dani. You gotta meet Dani. You're gonna love Dani.
Yeah.
And he was right on all accounts.
I mean, when wasn't he right?
Yeah. He was full of that knowledge. He really was. And that's another reason why I like doing this show, because you worked with him on The Resident for 2 years.
Yes.
Makeup artist. And we're gonna talk about a whole bunch of things, but I really wanna kind of just take us to the set of The Resident for a moment with you and Malcolm and everything that was going on there, because I know it had to have been an interesting and good time. We know that when it comes to acting and the world of entertainment, things have changed.
Yes.
But when you were there, good times.
Very good time. So the first time I met Malcolm,
Yeah.
or just the working dynamic?
Yeah, when was the first time you met him?
So that was the first time that I met Malcolm. So for The Resident, it was season 5, and it was towards the middle of the season when I ended up meeting him. So I was actually taking over for another makeup artist. And so when I met him, he's always busy. I think he was like playing one of his instruments.
One of them, right?
One of his,
right.
One of many, playing one of his instruments. And so I was introduced to him by the department head. And so I was taking care of him. And he was very quiet at first, which we know that to be very different now. You know, very reserved, very professional, very nice. And so when I set him in the chair, I told this story earlier. I was sitting in the chair with him, and he's like, well, this is what I don't want. And I'm like, I would appreciate if, you would allow me to do my job, allow me to service you in the way that, my profession allows. And so ever since that day, we were very, very good friends. So
yeah.
Very kind.
And one of the things that we know about Malcolm, even before he passed, was he was always in contact with people, giving advice, giving words of wisdom. He did that a lot with you.
A wealth of knowledge.
Yes. We're going to get into that. Take
Yes.
us to The Resident for a moment, though, because I know that working with him was good. You have shared stories about him fighting for script changes, or you two just being on set. The dearth of minorities on set, too.
Yes.
All of that makes what it's like to be in your industry.
Yes. So especially being a woman of color, Black woman, in the industry. So a lot of facets are different, but The Resident was very unique. So we probably can count how many, people of color, how many Black people were on the set, right? And so I would say between 10 and 15.
Out of?
Maybe 300.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all were looking for each other at some part of that day.
So
you're like, there's one. Yeah.
You pretty much can count it. But, it was a space. It was a good thing because, again, it was a situation to where with Malcolm, he was very pro-culture. So he made sure that, I would be the person that would, take care of his makeup. He created opportunity. He very much was that as well. Making sure that people had fair opportunity, fair share, making you feel welcome. He was very good at that, making people feel welcome, making sure that, everyone had the same, level playing field. if he was able to assist you, he absolutely could and would, right?
Yes.
So what else with the resident? It was so many things. You're able to work these long hours with, people that really become family. So they start off, as coworkers, but then they transition into family. That's what Malcolm was for me, right? Again, often he would make sure that, he's always doing something on set, whether he's playing an instrument, maybe he's taking a nap. Maybe
right.
Everybody's like, what the
But they were long days.
Oh, yeah.
They were real long. And I also think what is interesting about just the genre that you're in is that it is very hard, even as a makeup artist, to get in. And I know this from having makeup artists on set. They do not, and you hear a lot of actresses of color talk about the makeup artist. So the fact that you even got in, that's huge. You have to do a lot of things to get on the set of the Resident or movies, which we'll talk about all the movies, and you do this a lot. But to even open that door, it is terribly difficult, which is why so many women of color have a problem finding makeup artists. I went on set once, and a woman, you could just see, she came from CVS. She had one color in there. That was it. In fact, that's all she had for everybody.
But that probably was her demographic. But to your point, that does make a lot of sense. That often happens on set, unfortunately. So as Black artists, we are conditioned to, we have to do everybody.
Right.
Everyone, all ethnicities, all textures, all whatever. We have to know how to do it. But on the other side of the coin, it's really not that. A lot of times when, actresses that I have, both male and female actresses, they come on set, they're refreshed when they see, a Black woman or someone that's able to do their makeup, because we are faceted. Like, we have to know how to do, white skin, brown skin, Asian skin, yellow, whoever. But it's not the same standard or expectation.
Yeah. Now, in terms of getting on, just quickly, because a lot of people do makeup and they're like, one day I'm going to work on the set with such and such. It's a process, just in like a minute or less. What is that process for you to even get on the set of Mission Impossible or whatever?
So the thing is, I'm going to give you a formula.
Okay.
Right. So I do have a corporate background. Right. So a lot of people will not think that plays key, but it does. So I would say, as an answer to your question, you have to make sure, like, if you're trying to enter in this industry arena, my corporate background means that I'm very strong in admin. That means that, because it's administrative things that we have to do, read a script, break down a script. A lot of people are like, well, how does that translate? If you watch a movie or a program and you see a person that has a black eye, well, the makeup department has to read that on the script and plan it so that they can, put that. So you have the admin piece, you have days. So that's all in admin, right? So admin is a big piece of it. The other piece of it is reputation, right? Reputation and professionalism. I'll kind of band those together. So it's not that many of us, as we know, like in the business, but what can you do to set yourself aside? So that's something that I pat myself on the back on, and that's how I was able to kind of peruse in my career, making sure that I had a very good reputation. So what does that look like? That looks like professionalism. That looks like showing up. That means being on time, punctuality.
And do you have to get on a certain amount of sets before you advance to like the next bigger set?
Well, not necessarily, but union-wise. So I'm in the makeup union here in Atlanta. So it's IATSE 798. Well, it's really south, like, on this side. So IATSE 798 is a hair and makeup union. So you do have to have a certain amount of days to join a union. But Georgia is a right-to-work state, so that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have those days to work on a set. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
So, But in short, you definitely, for me, like, my personal success story is I honestly do believe that corporate structure helped me along, because by me being strong in admin and Excel and these, PowerPoint, I was able to use that to my advantage. And also what was ever, what's intrinsic about me, like what makes me special as a person. If I was able to identify that, that's what I would encourage for someone who is interested in being in the field. What's intrinsic about you? And then once you identify that, use that to propel you forward.
And listen, now let's be real. What would you say is intrinsic about you? Let's let the guards down. Intrinsic about Dani is what? Like, come on, Dani.
So many things.
There we go. That's the Dani I know right there.
It's
So many things.
It is. But, I really do think that, the fact that, use what you have.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that, if you're a pretty person, I'm an attractive person. You're an attractive person.
Why, thank you.
In this field, I think that helps
Y'all
you.
got to take up some of this sun, right?
does.
We're all attractive people. Okay. Well, Dani, we'll take that.
But it makes sense, though. I really do mean that. So if you're in a forward-facing, customer-facing, if it's an actor to, makeup artist, it's still a forward-facing facet. So you have to be, you can use that to propel your opportunity if you're attractive and professional. If you lead with the things that
are strong.
That are strong, right?
That
so
are
it's
your strong suit.
Right, because my grandmother would say, well, you are easy on the eyes. It doesn't help. It kind of helps you if you're easy on the eyes, but you're professional, you're punctual, you have great personality, right?
Yeah.
You do a great job. You have great bedside manner. So it's 1,000,001 makeup artists in Atlanta, but what's intrinsic about you, what makes you special?
Absolutely. And let's break it down. A lot of it is, customer service, for lack of a word.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Just that interaction. What is my experience? Because that is what will follow you.
How do you make them feel?
Yeah, how do you make them feel?
And then I actually, prior to me working in the industry, I had a lot of corporate cosmetic experience, field experience. So I've worked for Chanel, high-end retailers, also worked for MAC. So with that being said, how it's about client experience. It doesn't matter that it's on a set. It's about client experience. How does that actor feel?
Yeah.
How are you making them feel? It's not just doing makeup. It is basically, you have to adapt to how they feel. They may be, women breastfeed their children, while they're in the chair. They may be preparing, they may be nervous, they may be exhausted. So you have to adapt to that energy. And that's something that, it's kind of like reading the room. You would be surprised. A lot of people don't know how to read the room. So reading the room.
I want to talk about the transitions because there were many transitions that you've gone through. So if we're talking about actors and actresses, anything that we see in the headlines, SAG-AFTRA, the strike, there even internationally in terms of actresses and actors going on, that affects you.
It does.
So post-COVID, right?
Oh, yeah.
All of that, all the work that was lost, depending upon where you live. And I know that there are a lot of transitions that you went through. How did you survive that? Because you had to, it's always good to reinvent yourself.
Yes.
But you have done it quite a bit.
I have.
So with that in mind, how did you survive that? And I also want to point out that because, again, you were friends with Malcolm.
Yes.
There are many times that he would text you through a process, whether it was that or a divorce, which we will talk about.
Yes.
But there was that friendship, which I love.
So for me, how to transition, the best way to transition and how I was able to deal with it is identifying what your anchor is. Most times when people have issues or troubles transitioning, there's an anchor that keeps them. So you have to itemize, what is your anchor? My anchor was comfort, right? So that can limit me. So if I'm anchored, I'm okay, so I understand the industry is changing. So what am I going to do? What is your anchor? Some people's anchor could be, mine was comfort. Some can be grief. You can grieve the industry, right? You've been making thousands of dollars a week and it just comes to a halt or a stop. You're making nothing now. It could be fear. Fear could be anchor as well. So for me, that's the answer, identifying what your anchor is. So for me, it was comfort. So being able to say, what makes me feel, I'm not making the money that I used to, or the opportunities are not as plentiful as they once were. What can I do? So the anchor is comfort. Okay,
so you were creative in ways to get yourself more money, or how did that happen where you stayed? I mean, listen, there were some big stars that would get online and say, I'm about to run out of money, or I'm about to, my house is about to go into foreclosure during that time. So how did you transition to make that happen? Because if movies and TV pilots were happening, there were no makeup artists either that were happening.
Right, because we call makeup artists and hairstylists, we're what's called below the line workers. So again, identifying that anchor allowed me to say, okay, this is what would be comfortable for me. What would be comfortable for me is to live off savings and to wait on the industry to turn around. The industry doesn't have loyalty to anyone. So what I did was lean again back into what was intrinsic. Like, what can I offer, or what did I do beforehand? And can I now make that profitable? Like, can I do that? So what specifically I did was I did online seminars, like for people who were interested in breaking into the industry, providing education, a lot of therapy. a lot of therapy, a lot of prayer. But I think mindset is very important too. But identifying, do you have an anchor? Like, a lot of people don't like to look within. We allow external factors to kind of stifle us sometimes. Like, oh, well, this is happening. What should we do? Identifying it and then being able to come up with an action plan to overcome it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You also went through a divorce during COVID,
yes.
right? Mm-hmm. And now you're on the other side of it.
Yes.
And when we talk about transitions, that's a huge one.
It is.
A lot of people, when they go through a divorce, they want a divorce, they know that it's coming, but then when it actually happens, it actually kind of mentally crosses you to another arena of your life, and you're like, wow, now you're on the other side.
Correct.
Now what do you do? Because even though that person, you really didn't want them in your life,
yeah,
it is now just you, solo.
Yeah.
So how did you work through that? Because that took a big toll.
It did. But I have, contrarily to popular belief, some people have really bad divorces.
Yeah.
Right? So this was another thing that Malcolm helped me navigate through. So my divorce I feel like it could have been a feeling. It could have been a thing. It was like 2 years long. It's a lot of back and forth. And so I would come to set and I would just be really quiet about it. But Malcolm was a person he was very intuitive. Mm-hmm. Like, he'd be able to, if you can tell if somebody's like energy is off, I would always have a, professional face. And he's like, well, what's going on today? Like, he would check in with you. What's going on today? And I'd be like, oh, I'm just a little stressed. That didn't fly with him. You have to tell him, like, what's going on, how you're feeling, because he cared about how you felt. But thinking about, like, the divorce process, he was the person that I think is like a model for, the model husband, the model father, the model platonic friendship. Like, he was that person. Like, he's able to offer you wisdom, like when you're in a place where you're in need of it. If I have a very, I'm a daddy's girl.
Yes, you are a big daddy's girl.
So I have a big, respect for men in my life, So, but from the romantic facet, and if you're in a situation where you're coming from divorce, like you said, you're detaching from a situation that was once, a duality. You're like, well, I'm stepping away from that. He was a person that was like, well, it's okay to be vulnerable. Malcolm taught me vulnerability. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to feel like, this is to grieve a divorce. But what's your mentality? Are you going to carry what you lost, or are you going to use that as inspiration to press forward and pioneer something new?
Yeah. And also, are you going to share it with others? Because otherwise you live in a vacuum and think, I'm the only one.
Right.
We were talking about this the other day. Just, I'm the only one who's going through this. But then when you open up, you realize really everybody's gone through something in their relationship.
Yeah.
And that's where the wisdom comes in when you open up that door. Do you find that, going through the process, that you were able to be as vulnerable as you wanted to be, or what did that take?
I do believe that. And because, like I said, when somebody brings something to your attention that you were not aware of, it kind of makes you think like, like, it makes you, it makes me think deeper and dig deeper, right? So vulnerability taught me an array of things. He taught me to be safe, like you were safe. Like, no one, the way that we view ourselves, very different from, like, if you're in your mind about something, very different from how you're perceived, right?
Right.
So vulnerability taught me, it's okay to feel your feelings. Feel your feelings. And then, again, it allowed me to pioneer, like, okay, so what am I going to do next? Because you can't stay here. It's okay to feel how you're feeling. And then I wasn't, angry, upset, but you can grieve the loss of a spouse.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Or that loss of, again, comfort. Going back to anchor. Like, if you feel something and you're like, Wonder why I feel this way. Check in with yourself. So vulnerability taught me, basically wrote myself on a piece of paper and challenged me to press forward. Yeah.
What was that grieving like? Because that is divorce is often compared to that you grieve someone, but they're still here. But
Right.
you're grieving the loss of a major relationship
Right.
that you got a bunch of people together for. You made a commitment. You paid food. You paid drink. You paid the DJ and the photo booth, and now it's over.
So the agreement I believe, and a lot of people don't agree, but I believe that marriage is a business. First rule of business is ROI, return on investment, right? So for me, I felt like, you know what, I'm checking this, I'm checking all of these boxes, and you're not a bad person, but you're not my person. You're not you're not my person. So in the grieving process, it's adjusting, going back to the comfort, like the loss of comfort. Like, it's two incomes, there is, another counterpart. How do you navigate through the grieving process? Accountability, vulnerability, and making sure that you check your anchors. Why do I feel this way? Checking in with yourself. Why do I feel this way? Like, what is it that I can do to navigate the situation and make it better? So I wasn't one of those people like, I don't hate my ex-husband. Like, it was one of those situations where I'm like, listen, I want to do this. You're doing that, and that's completely fine. We don't have to be at odds. I think a lot of women get into that. Just because you've had a bad experience or a poor experience with a person, that shouldn't define how you feel about men as a whole. Or, it shouldn't lead you or encourage you to generalize people. And I think that often the culture does that.
Yeah, I think that often the culture will lead you to think that marriage just kind of works on its own as opposed to the work that you have to put into
Correct.
it.
It's
it really
partnership.
is it's a partnership, like you said. Yeah, and you have to intentionally do things. Did you do that, do you think, with your marriage? Or are you looking back and saying, I actually didn't do that and I kind of could have done a better job?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So I think that people get so hung up on, all of the pieces, the nuances, like, what is this person's income and what is my income and what can my life look like? But really, to your point, you should bridge it back to the basics. Like, how do I feel about this? The way that you feel about this person now, you have to plan together. Am I going to feel the same way about this person in 5 to 10 years? What does that look like? Some people may say, well, it's impossible to do that. It's really not. If I go back and reflect and think about the characteristics that were showcased, like, in my ex-husband, it would have made sense for me to say, you know what, this could possibly be an issue. A lot of women, myself included, you feel that if you love a person, you can change them, and that's just not possible. People change themselves, So you have to see if this is something that you're interested in, in being into, or is this something that, can you live with this person?
Right.
Long term. And that from the signs.
And you know what you can put up with, right?
Absolutely.
And different people have different thresholds.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I'm just saying that it's not always, the man is not always the bad guy. A lot of times what you see is what you get in a relationship. And a lot of times women will grow tired. And then they'll blame their counterpart. That's not fair. It's not fair. This is something that you probably should have taken inventory from the beginning, because when I think about the whole situation, you have to look at the entire person, characteristics, behaviors, intrinsic pursuit.
Their family. Let me just throw that.
Their family.
Okay.
So
because you're not just marrying that person.
You're marrying the whole situation.
You're marrying everybody.
Yeah. And it's like, I want people to understand that it's not divorce. I do not promote divorce, but for me, I promote what's going to put you in a good space, right? I believe in love. I believe in marriage, but I also believe in what does this serve you anymore,
So we're down in Atlanta. If everybody doesn't know that, I will mention it often that this is where we shoot our show.
Yes.
Atlanta, it is a hot spot for shooting. I want to know, first of all, what sets, what movies, filming. Yeah, what have you? Yeah, not shooting, sorry.
Because I'm like, that could have went the wrong.
ATL.
That could have went the wrong way.
That could have. She's like, filming. No bullets. My bad.
Yeah.
What we can do in post, maybe not. But big place for filming.
Yes.
What have you, besides The Resident, where have you found yourself in terms of being on set?
Oh my God, I've done a little bit of this and a little bit of that. My first major feature was Coming to America 2. So that's like kind of kicked my career off. Mm-hmm. So shout out to Troy and Trent and who else? And Merce, everyone who gave me an opportunity. I've done so many different things. I've done Fight Night, I was telling you guys about that. I played on that. I played on The Color Purple. I mean, I have over 37 productions.
Okay.
This is a trick question.
Right, because your memory has to give it all. Okay,
I've done like the Wonder Years. I've done Our Kind of People. I've done a few Apple TV, shows. I've done a ton of things.
You've done a ton. So what happened to the industry? What is going on right now?
AI.
More. Give me more.
So you have so many different facets. You have AI. You have a lot of the works like Marvel contracts that were once here. They're outsourced and they're going overseas because they're cutting costs. So when we think about the strike, so let's go back to the strike because the industry has taken a lot of blows, right?
Yeah.
So with COVID, everybody, of course, everybody's safety was paramount. So that's one piece of it, right? But then when we move past COVID, we get to the strike. So that was 2023. I think it was like March 2023 when it started to happen. So studios they started scaling back on booking major productions because they knew, so when you're in a union, so whether it's, DGA, that's the Directors Guild, SAG-AFTRA, that's, the actors, and then IATSE is like my guild. So it's not just hair and makeup. It's Teamsters, camera. Everyone has their own guild or union. So what studios did was they knew that everything was scaling back, and so they wouldn't book productions, right? Mm-hmm. So when negotiations are up, when it's time to negotiate, they know this. And so people were fighting for, better salary, better benefits, better work conditions. The writers kicked off, the strike because they're trying to get, royalties. Imagine working on something or writing something and getting paid one time and getting paid pennies on the dollar for something that constantly syndicates. So it's streaming on, you want to get streaming rights, something that you can see on Hulu or Netflix, and you only get paid one lump sum, or you're getting paid pennies on a dollar, and they're making millions of dollars on something that you made, something that you brought to life. Right. So that was the writer's aspect. Now, same thing for the actors. The actors were fighting against AI, so that one reason, right, against AI, so that their likeness wouldn't be replicated. So imagine, acting for 20 years and, your likeness, studios are telling you, well, they want to scan an image of you and make it have likeness, like basically replicate or clone you digitally and make money from that. And so that's one aspect of why the actors were fighting against AI. And of course, television and film workers, such as myself, well, on the hair side and the makeup side, we're fighting against, if everything can be digitally remastered or created at the touch of a button, then it's no use for us at all.
Right, because the same way that, you might Facetune a picture and
Correct.
add blush, add eyeliner, add lipstick, you can do that in AI on a bigger screen.
Correct.
On a human that's not really a human,
right?
Cutting out every man and woman.
And that's everyone in the production lineup. So that's hairstylists. Why would they have a need for wardrobe? Why would they have, there's no lint on a an
Right,
AI,
right.
an avatar. So it's like no hair, makeup, camera. You can do everything at the drop of a hat or touch of a button. What's the use? So that's basically what prompted the strikes. It's AI. And then, like I said, productions are scaling back. It used to be a thing in the world where, you would what's called day play. Day play simply means it's a turn, or day check. It just basically means you do not work on the set full time. So they'll invite you to come on. It's not just hair and makeup. It can be a teamster. It can be, someone that works in PA, background, like, it doesn't matter. So they would call you in to work. Well, they've scaled that back. The productions have scaled that back. They call that manpower or man days. So they've scaled it back because the productions have gotten tight on the budget. What they're doing is they're scanning the background. So let's say traditionally, like prior to the whole strike, maybe circa 2022 and prior, it will be maybe 200, 300, 400 background. What they're doing now is they may book a larger group, but they're only structuring, like the manpower has significantly lowered. So they may be, I was on a project, I won't say what it was. I was on a project, I won't say. I was on a project earlier this year, and it had about 350 background workers. So generally, those are called man days.
Okay.
Like, so you can bring in all departments, not just hair and makeup. Every department can bring in a person, and then they'll help structure or help support and process the background. That's their hair, their makeup, their wardrobe, the bandwidth of people. Back then, probably 14 to 15 artists, like in the hair and makeup division. This production allowed 2.
Oh, so that's very different.
Same processing time. It's virtually impossible, because what they're going to do is they're going to scan the audience or scan the background and make it look like a bigger crowd. So AI is costing people jobs.
So what do you do when you see your industry kind of being sucked away from you right in front of your eyes?
Pivot.
Mm-hmm. How do we do that? What is your advice? Because you have done this many, many times. And a lot of people are pivoting right now. They have to, because of a lot of reasons. The job market, AI, another thing, and just the fact that we're living in a time where people need to do more in order to gain extra income.
Yeah.
They're really making ends meet. They're like one leg break
Yes.
away. You know what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I know.
From being from having nothing in their bank.
Yes.
So how do you pivot? What would you tell someone who sees it going that way?
Being realistic with yourself. Being realistic. Then also going back to checking, do you have an anchor? Right? Is your anchor, do you have a personal anchor that is making it hard for you to transition to the next level? So what does that look like? Anchors could be, again, grieving the industry. Oh, I know I used to make this, they used to have that. This is something that is beyond your control now. So what is it that you can do so you can contribute and make a better path for yourself? And then if you have a family, I just have a dog. I don't have children.
Right.
Okay. So with that, that's a social responsibility. You have a family, you have children. What can you do to make it profitable? And you have to really sit with that, because some people have to do things that they don't really want to do. Like, I had friends that are actresses that were like, do I go back to the bar? They don't know what they should do, But we have to, I think it's a shorter list of saying what you can't do. So for example is, the industry is unpredictable. We don't know if it's going to turn around. They've been lying since the strikes commenced. They've been lying. They've been lying. Oh, it's going to be back in June. Malcolm and I will always talk about that. Oh, it's going to be back. They're saying it's going to be back. They say. But when it doesn't come, what is your plan of action? You have to be real with yourself. So you have to look at, some people, I've seen people get rid of, subscriptions. Like that looks like rebudgeting.
Right.
Sometimes it looks like, a work from home job. It just depends. Myself, I just took it back to the basics. I'm like, you know what? I know what I'm good at, which was, for me, I just recently I went back to corporate. Some people don't have that advantage. So I'm, blessed to be able to say that. But I really think people have to be realistic with themselves, because if you're not realistic, you're going to lose. You can't continue to focus externally and say, oh, well, this is what I used to make. Or, oh, this is hoping. You're getting these different pieces, but you're not making movements, right? It's only so much that the union can offer. They were offering grants. The people who have lost their jobs, they were offering different initiatives you can draw off your 401k with no penalty. But think about that. How many times can you do that? So maybe do it once or whatever, whatever tickles your fancy. But what is your long-term plan? I think a lot of people get rooted in comfort. A lot of people get rooted in grief. Over the industry. A lot of people take the identity, they made the industry, that's the thing. They made the industry their identity. That is the problem. Actors, hair, makeup, camera, sound, these people that's one thing I did not do. So I think that's kind of what make transition a little easier for me, because it was something that I did, something that I loved, something I still do.
Yeah.
People, call me to, day play or work, here and there. You're basically a contractor.
Right. You'll be on set somewhere tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
For a couple days.
For a couple days.
Come and play, But that's what I think the major issue is. One, people are rooted in comfort.
Yes.
Two, people are grieving the industry. And three, they made it their identity. Can you imagine doing something for 10 plus years? That's all you ever knew. That's all you ever did. You didn't make any residual investments and other things. And so how would that feel for you?
Right.
You don't know what to do. You don't know where to go. And you made this your identity.
Right. Instead of diversifying, right, what you are. So Troy, he's a creative director and producer for this show. And Troy, I know that you're doing things technical over there, but his son is often on set. Troy, did you see a lot of people, a lot of movement in the industry too, where less work was coming for your children? And so how did you deal with that? Or were you able to still find work for all the kids? He's got a baby who I just saw in a commercial.
So cute.
So cute. So cute. How was it for you?
Just keep on searching.
Just keep on searching.
Keep on searching. Keep on applying. Keep on submitting. Just keep at it. If it's something that they want to do and they can't afford, or like a child, if they're unable to pivot, just keep on keeping it.
Just keep on searching. Yeah. When we talk about pivoting too, what have you learned from your journey in terms of, because now you're back in the dating world, and when you get a divorce and add COVID and SAG, AFTRA, and you went through a lot.
I did.
And that's a lot happening. And as you said, it's out of your control.
It is.
And for someone like you, and we've talked about this, we normally can keep things in control. And when it's not, it's like, what do you do? It's like 6 feet of snow. You actually can't do anything about that, right? Especially not here in Georgia.
Yeah.
We're prepared for it up in New Jersey, but anyway.
Here, they're giving you sand.
Yes, here's going to be totally different. But the bottom line, it is out of your control. I am wondering how you look at dating now and still being vulnerable, but still making choices that are right for you. And what does that look like? How have you changed how you might have done with hubby number one? And I'm going to say hubby number two because you don't mind getting married again? Could be not. Okay.
Yes.
So what does that look like? What is going to be different?
So back to Malcolm, that was a key component. Like, he was a wealth of wisdom. My mom would call him that, a wealth of wisdom. So vulnerability taught me to be able to, remember how you were saying how I have an A-type personality.
Yeah.
I'm just, erratic, doing all this different stuff. When things get an age and wisdom too. I just turned 40 last month. So
you celebrated in a big way.
I did.
Where did you go again?
I went to...
Yes.
Where'd you go again?
Yes.
St. Martin.
Yes. It was a girls' trip.
It was a girls' trip.
Okay.
It was a girls' trip. But going back to that anchor of vulnerability, right? And if things are out of your control, there is nothing that you can do about it. So if you continue to fixate on it, you're wasting time. I hate wasting time. So there's nothing I can do about that. So what's different this time is grace. My daddy is teaching me grace.
Giving other people grace.
Giving people grace. Not too much.
See, they're laughing in the background. Explain.
So being able to, I want to say also healing. I've had time to heal the right way. Not the social media way. Like, I went to a couple therapy sessions. No.
Right.
Like being able to take inventory on you as a person. Everything is not always the other person's fault. What part did you play in it? Because tolerance is permission. You tolerate something, it's permissible to you, right? So being able to take inventory of yourself. And also I was just having this conversation with one of my very good girlfriends about it's just so many. Social media has a thing. I take it with a grain of salt, right? Because if you watch social media, they'll have you hating men, saying how everything is so terrible, and you can't do that. So people's social experiences, their, what they've seen, their backgrounds, that kind of molds their perspective on things, right?
Right.
So what I have done is, with the element of healing and giving people grace, and also being aware, being cognizant of, you can see signs. Like if you date a person and then, you be forthright, well, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. So this last guy that I was dating, I did not like his style of communication. I'm very, very busy. You are too. And so I'm not a texter back or forther. That's just not me. I'm not going to do that. So I was, I told him that. I'm like, well, my preferred style of communication is I would prefer that you either send me a voice note or we can schedule a time to, talk on the phone. He continued to text. That was an X.
He didn't get the memo.
Didn't get the memo, and that's okay. Listen to the X.
Right.
That's okay. Right. So knowing boundaries. Mm-hmm. So being able to give a person grace where, some of my girlfriends, they're like, he didn't do this. Let's assess it from all angles. Is this a person that is busy? Does he work in the industry? Industry doesn't have set hours, right?
Right.
So you have to look at the person's full picture, right? This is a person that you're talking to only at night and they don't work in the industry. That could be something, right? Red flag. Right? I can't talk to you certain times of the day looking for patterns. But I really do believe that inside.
Like, look, they have a job.
They could.
And I can't talk to you until after I get home.
Could be.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
But how does that make you feel is what you're saying?
No. How do you make, what does your discernment say? That's what I'm trying to say. What does your discernment say? Because I think I dated a guy like that at first. I'm like, I only can't. Now me, no one's busier than me. No one. And I do mean no one. Right? But if you're talking to a person all the time, and you're right, Lane, you have to think about what that person's schedule is. Are they an entrepreneur? Are they a 9-to-5er? I think with this guy, he worked at a hospital or something. But the shift that he worked, you couldn't talk to him at night. I'm like, no, I don't even know what's going on, but I don't like it. So now, having options, giving grace a little.
I see what you're saying.
Just a little grace.
Just an itty bit of grace.
Just a little bit. But I think healing is very important too.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to, if I hadn't taken the time to, check in with myself, if I haven't taken the time to, look at everything, everything as a whole, that can hinder you. You don't want to be jaded, listening to friends that have never been married, friends that, hate men. I told my friend that the other day, I'm like, you hate men.
So I can't take advice from you.
I can't.
Right. Or people like you said who stay on here and get what's in the algorithm advice.
This is what I'm telling you. Like, if you are a person that hates men, or this is what I told my friend the other day, I have excellent examples of leadership, like male leadership. My daddy's one of them. But, in my family, like my uncles are great. I have my cousins have married great men, and I believe in love. I love love. I believe in love. So you can't let an experience jade you. Something didn't work out, that doesn't define you as a person. It's just something that you decided, you know what, maybe I can do this different, and next time will be better.
Do you often lead with that with men, and to know that you are a daddy's girl? I find that a lot of people who are daddy's girls, sometimes that intimidates men because you certainly aren't going to measure up. Let me throw this out. Do you often tell people you're a daddy's girl? Because that translates into a lot.
Well, not up front, but eventually they find out.
Yeah.
I don't lead with that though. But your person is your person.
Yeah,
you got to think about it. People always, I think all of it is a sham. People are like, oh, you should do this, you should wear that, you should do this. You mean to tell me out of all of these people that you don't have one person for you? One? So that's how I think about it. I think about the probability.
What's your next pivot?
As far as what?
Well, I know that you are working on yourself. You're working on the next glow. And I know
Yes.
that a lot of women do that in terms of changing how they look or kind of glowing it up a little bit.
Yes.
And especially after divorce, that seems to be the process. And being in the beauty industry,
Yes.
how do you feel about that when women do go and change themselves
Reinvent.
and
Reinvent
reinvent themselves physically, internally, and externally?
I think it's important. I think it's important to always be in tune with yourself. I think it's important to reinvent yourself, right? A new look, a fresh look, because everybody, that's growth. That's a sign of growth, right? Wanting to look better and do better for you. That's the important piece. Doing better and looking better for you, for no one else but you.
But some people do take it too far. Wouldn't you
We
say-
talked about that.
Okay, can you? Especially being in the beauty industry,
Yes.
understanding what comes with that. Not everybody should be doing what's on IG.
You know, it's all about balance and moderation. I'll say that. Balance, moderation. Like these people, we talked about this earlier, how people get these surgeries and they're looking crazy. You know, I'm a fan of nip tuck, as you know.
Okay, right,
Like a little, 1-2. However, conservative, I believe, but it's, it's the industry, and the industry basically they do what defines them. Me, I believe in fillers, I believe in Botox. I don't personally have them, but if it's conservative and it's something that's going to make you look or feel better, I say go for it. I'm a girl's girl.
You're also someone who, as you said, you have a history in the beauty industry. Where are we right now? What is going on with the changes and the butts and the major nips? And it's like you can get Botox with fries at McDonald's these days. Practically, you know what I mean? It's very, very easy and accessible.
Yeah.
I sat next to someone the other day and she said, "I like your dimple. I got some dimples too." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, I got them in. She went and changed her face and got dimples on a payment plan at the doctor.
Now, Candace.
I know, that was a lot. I was like, what
That's
is
a lot.
this?
That was a lot that was a lot to digest.
Yes.
Artificial dimples
Artificial dimples
on a payment plan.
on a payment
That's
plan.
a lot.
If she got the credit card right at the location.
That's a lot. I would say to that piece, as far as beauty trends, skin is in. Right. So fresh skin, plump, supple skin, that's what's in. But as I was saying, I was telling you earlier when we had that conversation, I believe that fillers and Botox was really made for projection. Like on camera, a lot of people would get it traditionally because they wanted profile or they wanted balance. Now, like many other trends, it'll be one person that does too much. They will overfill, overplump, right? And then it starts that it's like a trend of a trend of a trend of a trend. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
But traditionally, back to the basics, it's literally supposed to be for balance and like it's supposed to be very conservative. But people do what they want.
Yeah. I want to end on Malcolm. Yeah.
Yes.
This is really this is the first time that we've come back this weekend to shoot. And of course I'm going to bring everybody in this. But it's been really a journey, I can imagine. I know for us as a group and individually, and we had our moments here yesterday, and we see his picture here, and his picture's always popping up here. How are you doing?
I'm better now. So I'm better now.
I remember Troy did call me, and I don't think I've told this story before, but Troy called, and he gave me an idea that somebody had thought that Malcolm had passed, and then we waited, and I think when we officially knew, I don't know who called who, but then we got on the phone, and it was just unbelievable. We were just working through it.
Yeah, one of my friends called me. The whole industry called me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everyone knew he was like a good friend of mine. And when they called, like I told you when I was talking to my one friend, she was like, you were in denial. Like I was like, you're lying. And even when I talked to you, you were like, well, TMZ is reporting, and I was like, they're lying. So it took a bit. It was a lot to digest, especially from a person that, you can call or, text easily. So I think it was just a great loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I still, you deal with it, but at the capacity. And if you knew who he was, which we all did, he wouldn't want people grieving over him, just remembering and honoring the beautiful person that he is.
Yeah. Who's the guy that they used to say, he would say that they would get mixed up with him from
Darius
Urkel.
McCrary.
Darius McCrary. So this is funny because, and I mean, we were on the phone, I don't see it either. I'm sorry. But if y'all remember back from the Urkel show, what was that called?
He said he sees it. Malcolm
Did he?
Yes.
Are they roughly the same height?
Yes.
Oh, complexion too?
No, they're not.
Uh-oh, someone who knows complexions, I'm
They're
gonna have to
not.
go with you.
They're not.
She said no, they're
That's
not.
what I'm
He's
saying.
talking about.
I do makeup. Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Okay.
There
No.
is the feel is there. I can see when people do it. I go, okay. Okay.
What is this? Have we seen this on a side by side? What comparison do we have
We're
with
gonna put
this?
it up in post.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't like this. I don't like where this is going.
You like this, right? Yeah. That would be a problem. But what I remember we were just at our wits' end because, like you said, like we were either just texting him or just talking to him a few days before. So how could it be that he's gone? And that's what people go through with death. Mm-hmm. And then after it was all said and done, after we really, do you remember I said, well, you know what? It could be Darius McCrary. I feel so bad for. I was like, it could be. Like that was my last hope.
I thought that too. I said, you know what? It might be Darius.
I was like, it's my last hope.
He moves around the world. Right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's not-
Y'all are
I know
shady.
we're terrible.
Not that I wanted anything
No,
to happen to
I know.
people,
I did
but
not
know
want any,
he's-
but I was just
he's a lot
like,
more worthy
that's
than Malcolm.
the only, and obviously it wasn't that, but I do remember saying that and just being in grief with you and just sharing and getting to know you better, and just going through this whole process. Grief really does bring people together in a very weird and strange way.
Powerful way.
Powerful way. Sometimes it's always not where you're like, oh my goodness, I bonded with you, and this is actually the friendship that he probably imagined.
Yes.
I know when my father passed, I always tell people we turned into a whole Tyler Perry movie. I was like, what is this? What? So it's not always smooth sailing, but I definitely see why Malcolm said to me, you need to meet Dani. You're going to really like her.
And I too.
Yes.
I too.
And I do.
I see why I said that.
Yeah.
I love Candace.
And might I add, and I ended on this, that you did my makeup. We had a photo shoot today. And yes.
I did everyone's makeup.
Yes, you did. You did everyone's makeup. Photos coming. Look, you even did yours.
People ask that. You do your own makeup.
Right, you do your own makeup. Yes.
Do your own makeup. Who else is going to do it, girl?
And who else is going to do it like you?
You look fantastic.
Thank you.
Lane and Troy, you guys are the, backup dancers, but you look great.
Do we have questions where we want to go? Anything that, because what we do is sometimes we ask questions, then we post it, and we just edit it all together.
Ooh, you just called me on the spot just now.
I did. All right. Anybody, anything? Otherwise, we're all good.
Okay.
Johnny on the spot.
Old keys opening new doors was kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I don't think we mentioned.
What is it? All keys open new doors? Old keys open new doors.
Old keys do not open new doors.
Well, yeah. Well, that would make sense.
And it really,
Because I'm like, it's old.
Right.
But actually,
You have to change your ways.
was the theme of your conversation.
Oh.
Yeah.
Pivoting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just heard it over and over again in your conversation. It was like pivot, because it is hard for people to pivot because they do the same thing.
Yeah.
They stay on the hamster wheel. They go, this is what I think that life is supposed to look like for me. So honestly, you put out a powerful message today.
Well, thank
You know what? I also want to talk about this, the fact that we are hard on ourselves and trying to figure out who we are because everybody's watching. It's like you go through this process of getting married and you have this expectation, and then you're like, wow, it can be kind of embarrassing that you didn't do it.
But see, that's the thing. So in my family, there are a ton, everybody's married in my family, right? but are those marriages good marriages? Right? So you have to take a chance on yourself. I'm like, I'm young, I can get another husband. Right? So
I'm sorry. You're like, oh, yeah, look, we can redo.
I'll be okay.
You'll be okay.
You know, I can get another husband. Is this a relationship that is sustainable and profitable for you? Profitable for you, not monetarily, physically, emotionally, mentally. Like, is this the person that's going to, contribute to you going forward? People can be in long-term relationships all the time, but is that a situation, to your point about people being embarrassed? That's something I thought that in the beginning, because I'm like, oh, well, I've been married 6 years. Should I end this? But I knew that this is something that I wanted to do different. So that is a conversation that you have to have, and you have to it takes bravery, it takes courage to, change, come out of comfort, the mold of comfort, the mold of, like Lane was saying, that gerbil wheel. Most people don't want to do that, not just with a divorce, just with things, period. The industry is changing. And I listen to people, like, they'll reach out to you. People like to coattail, too, with pivoting. So coattailing, what pivoting should look like and what it is are two different things. So what pivoting should look like is, what am I capable of doing? What's my game plan? If you don't know where to start, you can start with, what am I good at? What can I be good at? It's such thing as, we're industry people. It's such thing as right place, right time. Just start. Put your foot forward. You can't be afraid, because if fear is your anchor, you're not going to be able to move too far. You can't navigate forward. So if you take that chance, I'm telling you, everything will push you forward. That's the only thing I did.
Oh, no, what's the coattail part?
Coattailing. Coattailing is, oh, well, she did it. Well, what did you do exactly, word for word? But what I did may not be the same, path that you have, or the path that you're going to take. Take the initiative to figure out what your T is, what your structure is. What am I good at? What can I grow into? And not being afraid to start over. That's the thing, too. People let fear paralyze them. I want to stay in this industry. I've been doing it 20 years, been doing it 30 years. That's all I know. Okay, it's dried up. You're going to lose your house? You're going to lose your car? Because you are afraid to start in a new industry, you may have to start at the bottom of the industry, right? If you mean to tell me that if you are in a business that's paying you $100,000 a year, you're not going to take something that gives you $85,000? Yeah, it's different. Yeah, it's a pay cut, but is that going to sustain you and your family? Are you going to be able to keep your car? Are you going to be able to keep your, are your kids fed? These are the things. People refuse to do it because they have this pseudo mentality or this pseudo hope of the industry turning around. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But what about today? You're going to keep accruing debt? You're going to keep, you have to do something to propel forward. You have to take a chance on yourself. You have to. That's the only thing I did.
All right, that's it for this episode of Not All Hood. We appreciate you listening and joining in the conversation and just being a part of it all.
We want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments, share this episode with a friend, and let us know what resonated with you.
There's a lot of you guys ordering merch. Please, please, please send us a pic rocking your merch, and we'll feature in some upcoming posts. And thank you, community, for being a part of this. We see you.
All right, also make sure that you subscribe to us on YouTube, on Fanbase, on Instagram, and really do that to stay locked into all of our future episodes.
Be sure to support the movement. Grab your merch at www.notallhoodmerch.shop. Every purchase helps us keep the conversation alive.
We've got some powerful conversations coming up, so don't miss next week's episode. Thank you guys for joining us.